Hey class, welcome to week number 1 of Respiratory Care 441, Teaching Techniques for Healthcare Professionals. We're going to jump right into the week 1 folder here. So under weekly modules, here you can see we've got all the weeks laid out, and we're just going to click right into week 1. But before we do that, just a little bit of an overview about what's going to be required this week. First thing you should start working on is researching on how you're going to make your introduction video. So if you haven't already done that, start looking at that. You can simply click over here to this YouTube and Google Docs Help tab, and you can find some videos on how to make your introduction video. But note that that's not due until Thursday of week 2. So not due till next week. You guys are good here. But I want you to start looking into how to make that if you haven't already. The next thing is we do have a discussion board that's due Sunday night, and then you've got follow-up on that next Tuesday. And then the assignment this week is learning outcomes, which is due Sunday night. So let's click in and do a quick overview of what this week is going to look like. So the first thing we're going to talk about during week 1 is what it takes to be an outstanding teacher. So the first few things here are some links to some PDFs that you can look at. And then we're going to look at learning styles. And so Bloom's taxonomy is really important. It's something that we educators look to as far as figuring out different types of learning styles. And so it's important that you understand Bloom's taxonomy. So take a look at these two PDFs regarding the taxonomy and learning outcomes. And then as far as learning styles, it's good that we take a look at what our learning styles actually are. So we've got a multiple intelligence. It's actually a self-assessment. So kind of like a little self-quiz that's going to help identify some of your learning styles. And so please click on these two links to look at that information. And then, of course, the information I already shared about Bloom's taxonomy. So that's kind of the learning information for this week 1. It's not too much information there. So hopefully we ease you into the class during this week. If you scroll down, the next item is this learning styles discussion post. So you're going to use this information that you learned up here about your learning styles to create your learning styles discussion post. Note that this is due on Sunday, and then you're going to have until the following Tuesday to respond to 2 of your classmates. Now this information down here is important. The initial post is due Sunday by midnight, and then respond to at least 2 of your classmates by the following Tuesday at midnight. Note that APA citation within your post is required, and then also the references for those 2 citations is required within the post. When you respond, you have to include at least 1 source minimum for at least 2 of your responses. If you decide to respond to more than 2 people after you've got your minimum of 1 source in at least 2 of your responses, then it's no longer required to do more sources in those other responses. The goal to this is that your responses are going to be meaningful and substantiated, not the, okay, hey, I agree with you, or really good job, nice post, good statement. To get away from those and actually provide some good feedback to your classmates with some substantiated academic sources. Now you're going to do that again for 2 of them. After you've done that, it's perfectly fine to say, I agree with what you said, or I disagree, this is why, or I really like your post, or you're spot on, and just leave it to be something short. But the first couple posts that you do need to be academic, and so that's the requirement there. The next item is the Learning Outcomes Journal Part 1. And this week we're going to be preparing for a full lesson plan, which you'll do next week. But this week all we're going to do is practice writing outcomes. So here we are going to look at a group of 10 teenagers. You're given an hour to teach them a lesson. You've got basically everything you need to teach the class. And we want you then to practice what is it that, so we want you to practice writing outcomes that are going to basically answer the question of what is it that you want these students to learn at the end of this hour. So the requirements are that you format them in a bulleted list, that you write or provide at least 5 to 7 of these learning outcomes. And remember to use some of the action verbs that you learned about in order to demonstrate action and completion during these outcomes that you write. And I've listed an example down here for you. Remember, you're not writing a full lesson, you're just doing the outcomes. We're going to do the full lesson next week, so just focus on writing good quality outcomes this week. When you turn that in, please turn it in via Google Docs, which you should have read by now is a requirement for this course. Name that document with your last name in week 1. Couple of tips for you when you're doing Google Docs. Do not start your assignment in Word and then cut and paste it into Google Docs. That typically does not retain formatting, and it doesn't end up looking good, and you end up spending more time trying to reformat it than you actually did with the assignment. So start the assignment in Google Docs. It's completely free. Don't worry about it if this is your first time ever using Google Docs and you're not quite really sure what's going on with that. You'll get used to it very quickly and easily. And that's why we're starting off here in week 1 with it, kind of give you guys a grace period so that as we move through the course, you start to become more familiar with it and you start understanding. The expectation isn't that you're a Google Docs expert at this point. It's really not that much different than Word, but we're here to learn. This is some new technology that's fantastic as far as collaboration with networking with your peers. And so it's something that I want to introduce to you guys if you haven't seen it yet. Understanding that I'm going to work with you guys to make sure that you learn this technology, and I'm not just going to expect you to know it right off the bat. And if anything crazy happens that you're not accustomed to, that I'm not going to be flexible with. So please understand that I'm going to be flexible with you with this technology if you've never used it before. This video listed right here is actually a screencast of how to turn in your Google Docs assignment, and it is walking you through taking your Google Docs link and then submitting it into Blackboard so that I can grade it. Couple of points when you're doing your Google Docs. Make sure that you set your sharing permissions to allow me specifically, my email address listed right there, in order to edit your document. You can't just click you want to share it or that you want to share it with people in your organization. You need to list my email address specifically and give me permission to edit it. That's very, very important that you do that. One other point on Google Docs, I mentioned please do not try to cut and paste it from a Word document into Google Docs because it doesn't really work well. If you've already done your assignment in Word and you need to upload it to Google Docs, don't cut and paste it, but actually go into your Google Docs G Drive and click the upload option. So you can click the little folder icon to the file picker and choose the Word document and then upload it to Google Docs. When you do that, it retains almost all of its format from Microsoft Word. Again, if you try to cut and paste it, that's not going to work. So make sure if you have to convert it from Microsoft Word into Google Docs, that you're using this upload feature rather than cutting and pasting. Google Docs is great because it allows me to provide feedback for you in that very same document, and it allows you to accept or reject those comments or changes that I've made to your document. And it also allows you to reply or respond to my comments so that we can have a dialogue back and forth about the discrepancies that were in your document. That way we can really take that learning to the next level via a conversation between you and I. And then the last thing down here is the information about your YouTube video introduction. If you've taken a previous class of mine or many of the classes here at Boise State, a lot of the faculty require the YouTube video introduction, so hopefully this isn't something that's new to you. But if it is, don't freak out about it. There's lots of help within the course about how to do this, and it's due week 2. You should be looking at starting at week 1, but it is due week 2 to give you a little bit of extra time in order to learn how to do this. So all the information is here guiding you through how to do that and then how to post it. Now, one of the important things that you need to remember is that you have to embed the video. You can't just cut and paste a link and post that. You actually have to embed the video into Blackboard, and it's very easy to do. It's all listed right here on how to do that. Now, a couple of resources that I want to point out to you that I also pointed out in the course overview is your APA and AMA help. This folder gives you all kinds of information about APA format. We'll be using a little bit in this course. That's not the primary focus of this course, so a lot of that information is probably going to be a little bit of overload. If you took Respiratory Care 355, it's basically the same module from that course, in order to help you learn what APA is all about. So I've carried it over here in case you haven't had that course yet, or if you have, it'll be familiar to you. And then this YouTube and Google Docs help folder provides video tutorials that I've created for you about how can you actually edit and create your video introduction. So this is going to take you step by step through how to do this in iMovie, which if you have an iPhone or an iPad, this is a free application that you can use with that. If you have Android, you'll have to use Android's version of iMovie, but this is going to walk you through how to do this. So you don't need any fancy equipment to do this video. It's simply going to be based off of your phone. And then the following down, here's a video showing you actually how to embed the video. So there's directions like we saw, but this is a video that's actually showing you how to embed it. Further down, we have this how do you submit your Google Docs. So this is again repeated here in case you need to come back and reference that later in the course. And lastly, I've listed here a couple different options for your videos. So if you don't have iMovie, there is a software called Davinci Resolve, which is a nice freeware option for the PC. And that allows you to basically use this free video editing software to import your video, to edit it however you want to, and then submit it up to YouTube. If you are interested in something that is maybe a little bit more user-friendly and has some nice features but comes at a tiny bit of a cost, you can use what's called WeVideo. It's an online video editor, so it's really convenient. You don't have to download any software, but it starts at about $5 a month, and a lot of times it includes a lot of nice little features that you can add into your video to add some polish to it. That is not necessary. You don't have to go out and create some amazing introduction video, but I do want to give you some options about making that video. All right, class, that about does it. Try to keep these weekly overview videos kind of short, around 10 to 15 minutes. So that's where we're going to leave week 1. If you guys have any questions, please post it in the study hall. If you go to the discussion board and study hall link, you'll see the study hall discussion board here. If you haven't subscribed to it, click up here on subscribe. That way, anytime someone posts to the study hall, or if I post a response, then you're going to get an email showing you that that question has been asked in the course, and maybe you can answer it, or maybe you have that same question and you're waiting for a response. So make sure you check that out and subscribe to that. All right, if you have any other questions, again, post it in the study hall or shoot me an email. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys in week 2.